Today, you're going to learn how to make this image carousel in Adobe Experience Design from scratch. Oh, and hey, I'd like to point out this video's awesome sponsor, Skillshare.com, which offers thousands of classes in design, coding, business, and more. For instance, you're about to watch this quick video on Adobe XD, but you could watch this full XD course at Skillshare. Now, Skillshare is just $10 a month, but if you're the first 200 students to use my very exclusive link below in the description here on YouTube, then you get the first 2 months free. All right, so let's get started. Hey everyone, Gary Simon of Coursetro. So as you know, I've been really focusing on Adobe XD this week because they just released a ton of new updates across all their software, and there's been a lot of different updates that are major in terms of experience design, and it has become really fun to play with, especially the auto-animate feature and the drag feature. So we're going to be talking about the drag feature specifically. So let me just show you a little bit more in depth as opposed to the very beginning of the video about what exactly we'll be doing. So this is actually the project that I'm going to be showing you exactly how to do. If we drag this, you can see that they animate in and out. So we have an opacity effect on the ones going out and also the ones coming in. This is slightly off opacity and size as well. Now also watch what happens when you get to the third the card here. We'll see that we have a notification that comes up. We could do this with a time-based trigger. All right, and then watch what happens when we click on it. Nice. We can also go back and it will automatically reverse that animation. And then we can, of course, go back to the very beginning. All right, so very exciting stuff. Again, for today's question, which paid resources, if any, are you using to learn how to design and or code? This could be something like Pluralsight, Skillshare, Lynda or LinkedIn.com. Let me know, LinkedIn Learning that is. Let me know in the description. I'll also let you know what I've used in the past. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I've started just a blank document, an iPad. I don't know why I chose iPad. You could use anything really for this to work. And what we'll do first is get a background color going. So I think I kind of want to do a radial gradient for this. So the inner color, let's go ahead. I'm going to go to blue and make it a little bit lighter. And then also around that same area. Yeah, something like that. All right, that way it kind of gives us some emphasis in the middle, which is where our primary thumbnail-based or card-based content will go. All right, so after that, we'll take the rectangle tool and we'll draw out something roughly around this size for now. We'll take the selector and get it here just a little bit down because we're going to have a title up here. So I'm going to put in something like latest content. And of course, and make this a bit larger. I'm going to go to my favorite font, Montserrat, of course, and then make it white. All right, so right here, we'll hit Control D to duplicate this, and this is going to serve as the container for an image. So like a thumbnail. Let's take off the border here on both of those. All right, right now, we'll just make it a little bit gray temporarily. And then I'm going to put some content right here. So I'm just going to put in first blog title. Can't see it because it's white at the moment. So let's go ahead and do that. Scale this down. Maybe make it bold or semi-bold. That'll be fine. Control D, we'll duplicate it. And for this, we'll go back to making this regular. Maybe just gray, and then also we'll change this to maybe like a date, so 10/18/2018, something like that. We'll make this slightly larger too. All right, I don't like quite that bit of that much white space from the left and the top here, so I'm just going to move them over just a bit and then bring this up like right around there. All right, that's good. So now what we'll do is I'm going to take everything. We're going to go to repeat grid, And we're going to pull out just 3 of these, all right, for this simulation here. So after doing that, we'll then we'll just ungroup them, and we'll also ungroup everything here as well. And I'm just going to take these 3. And by the way, did this get okay? These are all ungrouped. All right, so wanted to make sure. We'll take these 3 thumbnail containers, and we'll go to plugins. And I'm going to use Photo Splash for this. You can install this by going to Discover and then typing in Photo Splash and hit install. So I used the keyword computer when initially coming up with this project. These will be fine. So I'm just going to hit apply. All right, and there we go. We'll real quickly just change this up. 2nd and 3rd. All right. So now once we have that done, we're going to take each one of these and make them their own group. So Control G, and Control G, and then we'll select all of them and then make it another group. So there's 3 groups inside of a main group, and if we go to our layers, we can rename this to, I don't know, gallery. All right. So now, at this point, we can duplicate the artboard once we have this ready to go. You could probably also make these symbols, by the way, the groups, and that way, if you want to make a change to one of them, all these other artboards, they'll change out. But I don't anticipate doing that, but you would want to do that. So Control D to duplicate, and then now for this section, I'm going to move this over a bit. We're going to drag exactly where we want this carousel to end up after they've dragged from this first artboard here. All right, so if we were to apply this right now, if we go to prototype real quickly, let me get rid of the layers there, and we took this group right here and we just drag it over on top of this iPad 2, we can use a drag trigger, auto-animate, and everything else is fine here. So now if we hit play, there we go. Works great. We can't go back though because we haven't yet set that up. So let's drag that back. It'll remember the other properties. And now we can go back and forth. And this is completely cool and acceptable, obviously. Especially if you have considerations of really trying to make the app as fast as possible, then you would probably want to stick with this and not do any other outside of animations. But let's keep on going just to make this a little bit funner. So inside of here, let's say that when a user is dragging this way, this first one, we would want this to maybe fade out and get smaller off screen. So here's how we would do that. So this is point A, because we already have this group right here. This group is called, by the way, group 4. We could call this the first blog group. And we have it over here as well. Group 4 is here. So our starting point's right here. The end point will be over here as well. So any changes we make over here, because we have auto-animate applied to this, then it's going to automatically apply an animation from the beginning state to the end state. So I'm holding Shift and Alt and scaling this down just so it's outside of the view. And I'm also going to take the opacity out. So let's hit play now. Now watch what happens. Look at that. And it will come right back. So it'll go back and forth between these states as needed. Now I think that's a little bit too dramatic, the amount of scale. So I want to change that up. What I'll do is just increase it slightly, and I'll just move it over off size. There we go. So now we'll try that again. And it's a little bit better of an effect in my opinion. All right, so what about, for instance, we want these to animate in as they're coming in. Well, let's go ahead and make a couple adjustments here. So let's say, for instance, we'll start this off on the first artboard a little bit smaller and also a little bit of opacity. So we'll put 70% opacity. All right, so I'm going to remember this size right here. I'm going to copy this. And you'll see how this comes into play over here. We'll want to do the same thing actually right here. If we take this, we'll go ahead and change. Oops. Let's go ahead and make sure that's first on there. Make sure it's locked. Hit enter. We'll move this down into place. And then also take this to 70 as well. Okay, good. And now automatically, watch what happens here. If we hit play, it's going to come up into full zoom. All right. Awesome. All right, so let's continue on going here. Let's have a third drag just to show this one over here. So we'll duplicate this. We're going to move this over. And we will take this. We're going to scale this up. So I'm going to hold Shift and Alt and scale at the same time. And it just needs to go to the full size that it once was. And I'm going to move this over again so that this starts right here with the very beginning of latest content. And then we'll take this right here, which is the primary one shown from the Artboard 2, and we'll scale that down off screen and take the opacity down. All right, so let's go ahead and hit play now. Oh, first we have to go to prototype, and we have to drag this over here instead. So let's hit play. Look at that. Now, how do we go back exactly? Well, what we'll do is I'm going to duplicate this artboard. I'm going to put it just underneath here. And this connection, we can get rid of this by default. What we'll do is, if you want to go back, we'll take this third artboard for the gallery and drag it here. And again, this is still a drag trigger, and we're just dragging it back to this way. And then this one, we can connect and make it go back to the first one. All right, so, and this is also a drag. So let's try that now. And by the way, we couldn't make this just go back here to this one because this one, this gallery right here is currently pointing to the third artboard, so we wouldn't be able to get back to the first one. That's why I duplicated it down here. So if I hit play, and then now I'll go back, it's currently on this artboard, which allows me to go back. So now we can go back through all three of these as we want. All right, so now let's try to do something interesting with a time-based trigger. So a time-based trigger will work like this. Let's say we have iPad 3, and we want to duplicate it, and we want to show that once you get to the end of a gallery, maybe something pops up or animates onto the user interface, informing the user that they're at the end of the gallery. This is probably a no-brainer thing. There's probably other better use cases to demonstrate this, but this is just for demonstrating, you know, how you can do this sort of thing. So once they get to the end, we'll say we want a. By the way, I'll delete this before I duplicate this. We'll say we want a like a little kind of it's called like a toast notification that will show up at the bottom that says you're at the end of the gallery or something like that. So to do this, what we'll do is I'm going to first create a container here with the rectangle tool, and we'll bring in the sides, all the way, I guess. Actually, no, I don't want to do that, just barely. And then we'll also take the pen tool, like that, make it a fill, take the select tool, move it over into place. We can do it like that, that works. All right, and then we'll just group these two, Control G. And then we'll go ahead and take the type tool, and I'm just gonna come all the way from the left and right and type in something like, you have reached the end, whatever. All right, so then we'll take this down. Maybe we'll make this regular, position this correctly. Actually, let me add a little bit more of the gallery. There, that fits perfect. almost. There we go. And we'll take the, let's change up the color real quick. So what I'll do is we'll take this and get rid of the border, by the way. And we'll color drop the background real quick. And just come up a little bit higher to make it lighter. We'll add this to the colors and we'll change that as well. And make this we'll make this white. All right, something like that. Now we'll take all these, all three of them, because this is a group and then this is just a text layer. We're going to group them up again. And if I go to our layers, we'll just call this toast. All right. And we'll say we want this to animate in right after they get here. So what we'll do is duplicate this. And this is the state where we want it to end up. We have to, in order for it to animate, we have to have this, we have to have a point A or a starting point. That's why I chose to do it here, but we're actually not going to see it in this artboard, but they have to exist. These layers have to exist on this artboard so that it knows where this should animate from and how it should animate based on the properties that we change. So we could do a number of different things. We could hold shift and just make it start at the bottom. That way it'll come up. And then we can also, if we want to, take the opacity all the way down. All right, so there we go. What we can do then at this point is we could duplicate this one more time. And we can make it so that this toast comes up. There's be another delay, maybe 1 second, it'll show it, and then it'll go back down. All right, so let's set this up in the prototyping section. So what happens is when they get here, we want a time-based transition here, trigger. So it's going to come here. We're going to change this to time. We're going to change, so we have to ask us, once they get here, how fast should this this transition, this time trigger take place, until this toast notification comes up. I'm just going to have a 0 second delay. It's going to be instant. How long should the duration be where that animates up from, opacity 0 to 100 and moving up? We'll just say 0.6 seconds. All right, and then over here, we'll do the same thing. So we have a time with a delay. This time, how long do we want it to stay in this state right here? I'll just say 1 second. And the duration, again, will be 0.6 seconds from going back down. We can also play, by the way, with the easing options because it's going to look a little strange. We can just say ease in. We can try ease out, see how that looks. And really, this is all about experimenting. But let's give it a try now. So we're going to go here, here. There it goes. And there we are. So you could do a lot of really cool stuff with this. Now, how would we go back out of here if we wanted to? Well, we could simply just take this right here and drag it to this artboard. And by the way, make sure that the trigger is drag. So same thing if you want to be able to do it in the middle here. I believe this will work. We could take this and drag it down to that one. And same thing here. So if we hit play, and guess what? We can go right back now, just as we wanted to. Awesome stuff. All right, so let's do a little bit more here just to demonstrate, what would happen if somebody clicked on this third blog title. All right, so what we'll do is take this and duplicate it. And I'll just put this down here. And all right, so what we can do is just move this off screen. So we'll say we want this to move up. Let's also take down the opacity. So it'll fade out and move up. We'll take this group right here, and specifically this group, I'm going to double click a few times to make sure I get to just the thumbnail image selected. And I'm going to scale this thing up. So I'm just holding shift while doing this. And then we could take this area and complete it. We'll take this and move it over here. We'll make this bigger. And we can do this real quick. And then I'm going to use a plugin here, Lorem Ipsum. All right, right there. I love the plugins, by the way. We'll take this and make it regular. Take down the contrast just a bit. Fill that out a little bit more. This right here, yeah, I didn't want this to be gray. There we go. All right, so we'll say this is what happens when somebody clicks on this right here. So if you go back to prototype, instead of doing that, we're going to drag it here. And this is going to be a tap. And it's going to auto-animate, and we'll say 1 second. So a lot's going to be happening here in terms of the animation. We're going from this to this. So let's give it a shot. All right, and come in here, and click. Let's also apply some easing to that because it really makes the animation look better. So we can do, you can try any of these actually. We'll just do ease in out. And just so we don't have to go through the whole sequence, I'll select that artboard and hit play. There we go. That's much, much better. I like that. And then let's say we want to, for instance, be able to go back. I'm just going to put in a real quick, very simple back button triangle of sorts. And don't worry, I'm sure it's completely ridiculous looking. So let me just make a quick eyeball adjustments there. All right, so if somebody clicks this, where's it going to go back? Well, we'll make it go back here. So we'll go into prototype, make this go back. This is tap, auto animate. Sounds good to me. And let's hit play. Toast. Click it. Click this. Look at that. And then now at this point, we can't go back because this is currently just set at a click trigger. So what you could do then is we can duplicate this. We'll make this right here. We'll take this right here and make it go down here. And that's based on the tap. And so this, we would connect back up to this right here. All right, so now hopefully we got that right. Let's go ahead and come back here. We hit play, or not play, but you click it, and then we go back, and then now we can drag that way. Oh, and by the way, the trigger, you gotta have to change this to a drag. So one last thing, just to get to that last sequence, click on it, go back, drag. Oh, this is so fun. Very fun stuff. All right. All right, so hopefully you found that helpful. And again, answer today's question, which is, do you use any of paid learning, education, or subscription-based websites for learning design or code? Let me know in the comments, and if so, which ones you use. And I'll see you guys real soon with new tutorials. Goodbye.